Carla? There we go. I got that.
She,
Sunyan.
huh?
Sun.
Yeah, she's from April or June. What month is it?
June is this week.
Yeah.
This next week, dude.
Okay. She's from last time.
Oh,
Okay.
April.
What?
June what?
Hmm?
21st. Yeah.
You want a space in there?
Moonlight separate? No, this one's like this. 42 Moonlight. I don't know what shows up. It just shows up like that. And, oh, so you're gonna use it?
For
Yeah.
that, but not with the speaker.
Yeah, so not with the speaker on, because there's not going to be enough people for the
Right,
speaker to
yeah.
be on.
So you're just holding. This one's holding a mic. I mean,
He's gonna present with the mic. It's just not, we're not gonna hear it here because the speakers won't be on, but online people can hear it.
oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Output to. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Output
Output
video.
to
Not.
internet.
Got it.
Alright,
Got
are
it.
we
Got it.
all
got
set
it.
right now?
Have you tested to see that it's actually working online?
I can do it right now.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll come back and use the bathroom.
We'll get started in like 2 minutes. Oh, you have it?
Something is wrong.
Working?
Is it working?
Yep.
Hello?
Hear everything.
Alright. You ready to start? Awesome. I'm just going to use the mic for the live stream. I'm not going to do sound. There's not enough people here. Hey, all right, ready? Awesome. So, hey everyone, my name's Josh. If you don't know me, I run MoonLight with Oliver. And what MoonLight is, if you haven't been here before, is a way to show off your side projects. So whether you're enthusiastic about business you're building, or a game you're building, or just something that helps make your life easier, you can come here, talk about it, get some feedback, and get some practice pitching. So the way that MoonLight is run is we have 2 parts of on each night. The first part, anyone, it's open mic, can come up and present their idea and just talk about what they've been working on, just get a Q&A, quick feedback from other people. You have up to 5 minutes. Yeah, you have up to 5 minutes, and it's just a great way to get some feedback and get people to love your project. The second part is we always have a demo, and tonight the demo is Renee, who is doing his Raspberry Pi that he installed some awesome games on. and that's a video portion and lasts for about 15 minutes. So if we want to get started, does anyone want to talk about their side project or show something off? Anything? We couldn't figure that out for like 10 minutes. You're all good. Awesome. So, does anyone want to talk about something they want to work on or they're working on? Oliver. Awesome.
Yo, yo, yo. So, usually, I can hear what I'm saying, but at this point in time, I cannot, which is okay. I'm Oliver, and do you have a timer? Cool. Oh, is it going right now? Yeah. Cool. I'm burning time. Awesome. So, today I'm going to talk about interviews and stuff. And I had an interview today at a company, and it was pretty cool. They were nice people and awesome. I'm going to talk about like when you go to an interview, and so the positioning there is pretty interesting, right? Like you're at a place and you're saying basically, hey, give me money to do things for you. And you usually, like it's very normal to feel like you're in a lower position, right? It's very easy to feel like you're asking for something, but the thing is it's really important to remember that it's a mutual exchange, right? Just as much as you need money in a job, they need engineers that care. So if you're applying to or going or interviewing with a place that's working on something you care about, that's a job that you can see yourself enjoying, that's a job where you can see yourself excelling and growing in, as much as it's valuable to you, it's extremely valuable to them too, because there's plenty of shitty people in the world. So don't forget that when you're talking. Don't forget that when you're negotiating. Remember that in negotiations, the point is not to beat the other person. The point is to make something that makes sense and for everybody to walk away feeling good about the deal, right? Moving from there, also, and this is personally for me, like I know that it's really important for me to feel like I can be honest in the workplace. I can be honest in my own environment. So if I feel that I have to like do bullshit or pretend or play bullshit politics to get simple things done, like politics are normal, that's part of life. But if you have to play politics to do like a basic action, from my point of view, that's completely fucked. It's gonna get in the way of doing actual work, and I have no tolerance or patience for it. So it's important for me to be very able to be very honest around the people I work with. And so in the interview process, I try to be as honest as I can. And I try to not polish what I say to be more perhaps docile or whatever to the kind of company things. And so watching how they react to that is an important process for me to understand whether it's a good fit, right? So the clinch of that is you have things you care about. You have things that matter to you. There's a type of workplace that you want to be in, that you will excel in, that you feel you will excel in. Like, select for that. Test that. Don't make the interview just about getting your job. It's like the PC. It's a two-part process, right? Part of it is them figuring out if you're a good fit for them. It's also you figuring out if they're a good fit for you. And so through the interview process, do things that will test and figure out whether it's a good fit. Ask them questions that will illuminate whether they care about the same things you care about. I mean, it depends on how comfortable you are. Like you can do weird stuff and just see how they react. Like it's okay. At the end of the day, there's a lot of jobs out there. You're in the Bay Area. There's a shit ton of jobs out there. There's more jobs here than there are engineers. And there's more engineers here than everywhere else. So like the market conditions are in your favor. Don't let being afraid prevent you from making a good deal. Questions? Does that make a sound? Oh shit. Sorry guys, I did not know it made a sound. Any other questions or comments?
You kind of mentioned how you don't want to deal with a company that has a lot of bullshit going on behind the scenes. And outside of reading online, kind of what the company culture is like, how do you assess that during an interview?
So I was fortunate because they invited me into the office and I got to meet all of the people. They made a big point of, it's a small company, right? It's less than 50 people. They have a few offices, but like it's small. So I got to meet all the people. I got to see the interactions. I got to interact with a lot of different people, not very deeply, but relatively superficially. And then also like I got to, with the main point of contact, it was like my interview started at 4:30 and I just got back. He drove me back. It was nice of him. Like I spent 4 hours with them, right? 4 hours with a person, if you're like trying to figure things out and stuff like that, you can figure out if they're full of shit or not. Like, especially if it's a technical role. If you're talking to a technical person or a person that says they're technical, you can within 4 hours figure out if they're technical or not. Like, you can. You can perhaps not be right, like you can be wrong, but like you can get an intuition. Whether that intuition is right or wrong, it's always a gamble, but you can do that.
Yeah, but if you also can't spend like 4 hours with someone, or if you can't go to that work space, then Glassdoor is also a pretty good resource, I think.
Yep. And then I totally looked at Glassdoor beforehand, and it was, yeah. Yep. Repeat the questions. Yep. Thank you. That's a really good point. Yep. Yep. You're absolutely right. Who would like to go next? That's the perfect time to talk about it.
I shouldn't have talked about this, but here I am. My name is Mio. Yeah, and I'm currently starting this. Me and a group of friends are starting this project where we want to build a smart mirror, where using a Raspberry Pi, maybe with a Zero, maybe because it's never been done before. But you also need client stuff, and I don't know if I want to deal with that. But we haven't gotten the mirror yet. But we're looking on Amazon for one that's $15, and then we're also looking at the Amazon API because like it's open or it's free for half a year. So maybe like for half a year we can figure something out and make it really cool. And then our goal for this is not just any smart mirror; it's a smart mirror that tells you how your fashion is. So it will honestly rate like your outfit for the day and just say like, why are you wearing this? Yep, and that's it. We haven't started coding or anything, but it's just in its planning stages. Questions, comments, concerns? What? So how would we define fashion? That's a great question, and that's also something that needs to be looked at. But what we were thinking, like for our first, I guess, publication or like finished product, we're just going for like color scheme, like, cause like why would you match like colors that aren't on the same, like, what are they called? I forget. Complementary? No, or like complementary colors, or yeah, like things that look bad together. Like why would you put them on? Yeah. Exactly. Or like, purple and gold. Those are my school colors. That's ugly. Okay. Yeah. So that's like the first step, and then after that, maybe or hopefully we'll find like either like take a poll, a consensus of what looks good, or something like that. Look at like fashion magazines and be like, oh, like round glasses are hip nowadays. Why are you still wearing your your grandpa glasses? Like that's not cool. You're a hipster, kind of thing. Not that hipsters aren't cool. Hipsters are pretty cool, but yeah, sometimes, yeah. Any other? What? Amazon recently released Echo Look, which pretty much it has Alexa putting clothes together for you, like coordinating an outfit. And are we gonna look into that? I would love to look into it, but I'm also really poor. So, yeah, someday. Yeah. Build Echo Look for cheap. Goals. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Oh, yeah. The like the Raspberry Pi or Raspberry Zero that we'd want to use, or like since Raspberry Pi Zero is really cheap, maybe we could do like a cheap version of the smart mirror so that everyone could get one, or just like we could build a wall of smart mirrors. Like how fucking awesome would that be? Yeah. But yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. So does anyone else have any projects they want to talk about? Danny.
Hello? Can I just turn around and talk? So, maybe we could do that along, I got you. Hi, my name is Danny. I'm not quite sure why I'm here, but I can tell you about my experience so far. So we just did a project called KIST. I don't know if you know what that is. We created a baby. You didn't know? We created a baby in C. We called him Benjamin. Then we realized Benjamin wasn't very smart. Because like we used a thing called Pocket Sphinx, and then we tried to teach it. Is it really working? Ah, okay. Oh, okay. So anyways, we try to teach it a language model and then try to teach it the dictionary, try to teach it a bunch of words, 500 lines of sentences, and it didn't understand anything we said. Well, it did understand, but it just couldn't put in a proper sentence. It just picked and choose what it kind of thought words sounded like. Like play is pronounced P-L-A-Y in our language model. 8 is pronounced A-Y-T-H. So we just got play and 8. We're just having that problem over and over again where we say, hey, Benjamin, play jazz. It will set the timer. See, Benjamin wasn't very smart. So then we just kind of like worked on it. Then we had the most progress in KISS so far, right? So we tried to demo that. That didn't very work. Then we changed everything in the language model to just cookies, sugars, calories, and just things with sweets. And we were able to Google that, and then because we narrowed our language model to just keywords, so I was able to find keywords. It couldn't define everything, it couldn't search everything, but we kept the language model and the pipeline of what it had very, very small. And then we did the career fair, and we had the guy from Xspring come and look at our project, because Mason like told him, hey, these are working on a voice user interface. He's like, cool, I do AI stuff, I want to check it out. He checked it out, and Benjamin wasn't very smart again. We had that issue where it's just like, hey, play jazz, and it would read all the background noise because it's very, very loud of like, set, play jazz, 10-10, dance. It doesn't know what to do, so it kind of did nothing. He looked at us and like, hey, the problem you're having is the same problem I've been having for like 20 years. What you're trying to do is you're trying to make Pocket Sphinx, which I've used before, do something it was never meant to do. It's meant for keywords. You have, you see the words here. So how about you give it a little bit of logic. Go through, parse what you can do. Try to give back a valid string every single time. Narrow your pipeline. If you see number, play jazz, like set, dance, maybe you should just return play jazz. So we went through and cleaned up the user, what Benjamin hears. So we gave it command words, and each command word will have keywords. It will find the first command word, then look through the string and find the keyword and just return as much as it can like a valid string. So then for this project, it's like we have our intro into like machine learning, which is basically what I've been trying to learn and try to learn some chatbot, trying try to make like a side business. But my main goal for now was try to make like a natural language processor, but for a different language. My language I speak, my culture is Mian, and there's just like not a lot of people who speak this language. Say you guys speak English, I hope, right? Then other people speak Spanish. So if you need like an English translator, you got one. You need a Spanish translator, you got one. You got a Chinese translator, you got one. For like big cultures, if you don't do it, a billion other people probably will. For a small culture, there's probably like 100,000 of us. That's a long shot. So if for small cultures, if we don't do it, don't help our own culture, I don't think anybody else will. So say like a couple months ago, right? My great aunt had this problem. She's kind of a little bit dementia. She's in a nursing home. They either call me while I'm here or call my mom when she's at work. So then they had trouble trying to understand her. So if I was able to make something that would translate Mian, I think that might help my culture. So that's what I'm trying to do. Thank you, Benjamin. Anybody else?
Side projects?
Thank you.
All right. Get started on the demo, if Renee. Yeah. And for the demo tonight, unfortunately, we don't have the exact right adapter, so we can't demo the Raspberry Pi. But Renee's going to kind of go through some of the challenges he went through when he installed it, because the tutorial that's found online has quite a few different things, quite a few things that don't work that you have to figure out yourself. So Renee's going to kind of cover what he did, what worked for him.
And suggestions.
Hi guys. So today I'll be talking to you guys a little bit about Raspberry Pis, well, Raspberry Pi, and some of the ideas that I had in mind of actually making with this. And since I kind of, I'll just give you a little background. My family and I, we make food. We sell it on the street. Some of you know, some of you don't. One of the ideas that I had is making an Raspberry Pi Arduino project work together to automate our food making. So one of the things that I had in mind is using the Raspberry Pi to do all of the controls, using the Arduino to manage robot pieces or mechanical pieces to serve the dough in a tamale. The point from that is every single time we make a tamale, we weigh it. And once we weigh it, it keeps the uniqueness, and essentially, every tamale that we sell is a unique weight. Once that goes through, we manually make them. Once I automate it, it'll be an easier way of just putting the leaf. The machine opens and releases the dough, and it just keeps going back and forth and just speeding up the process of scooping and messing up. It's essentially my grandmother doing all this. So her mixing all the materials and all of this, and it's just automating things a lot better. Probably this is a little bit further on, but I have some ideas on how to get that started. Now, since I just wanted to see how a Raspberry Pi worked, I decided to go off track and create something, now that I'm here in the dorms, make something fun. And I decided to install RetroPie. So for those who don't know, RetroPie is essentially, how would I say it? An overface that would get put on a Raspberry Pi on the system to run emulators. And this runs emulators from Amiga, Apple II, Atari, Nintendo DS, and even up to PlayStation 2. So This works perfectly for most Raspberry Pis, and it's better to do it on newer models. Raspberry Pi 3 does recommend that it's the best, primarily because it has most of the specs that you need to run a basic system. Back in the days, a PlayStation 1 ran perfectly. Now we could even run an emulator on our phone. So essentially, this has enough power to do all of that. There's a couple things that you need to do. Essentially, you need to have the system. Well, you could download the Raspbian system OS to the Raspberry Pi and continue from there. And the other thing you need to do is download the software, the RetroPie software. And this is very easy to do. There's many tutorials, but the wiki page, GitHub page for RetroPie gives you every detail on how to install it. You need a micro SD card that's at least 4 gigabytes. Essentially, the system is 2 gigabytes running. So the SD card, once you put it in there, it has to be stuck there, or else it messes up your system and it messes everything up. The other thing, optional via you could have a small screen module or connect it to TV. This has HDMI ports, so you could connect it straight to a computer or any televised monitor that you have. It does have Wi-Fi and an Ethernet port. So if you want to download games, you have to use a different computer if you want to do it that way, or there is another awesome way that you could install games, and that's via a USB. And if I have it here somewhere, yeah, I have it in my pocket. So the only way you could make this possible is, I don't think this one works on this side. Okay, 1 second. So to make this possible and to run correctly, you need to first restore your USB drive to FAT32. That's the essentially, like, all USBs get reset to that for most purposes, and make a RetroPie folder. And before you install the software in the Raspberry Pi, you have to connect your USB. So essentially, it's thinking that the USB is also the system itself. So everything that gets written on the USB as well. So once it essentially, this is everything that gets put into the Raspberry Pi. You have the ROMs folder, the configuration folder. The configuration folder contains all of the material, i.e. to display your visuals, and that's where you have to mess with it. Essentially, for newer games like PlayStation 2, you have to do this thing called overclocking. So essentially to speed up your Raspberry Pi to make it a little bit faster. I've seen some people do like 1.4 gigahertz to like speed up their Raspberry Pi. And once you're able to do that, you make your Raspberry Pi work. Make smooth rendering on the graphics. And I'm at the current point of recently, I think I've installed a couple N64 games. So Mario Kart, Mario Party, and Super Smash Bros. So for this, it essentially comes down to looking for best ROMs online. Some of them don't work, unfortunately. You just have to dig through the internet and make sure you don't download the wrong thing. Sometimes a bunch of viruses might appear through that. But it all comes down to like doing the right search and trying to find like the best games you really want to play. And I started this last night, and it's not hard, but it does come to a point where all of our experience here at 42, like dealing with text editors and messing with files in terminal comes very useful, because now we could manage and go through terminal and mess around with it. So it just becomes really useful to know programming at this point. And one of the coolest things, once you start and boot up the Raspberry Pi with RetroPie, you're able to plug in any USB controller. So you could essentially even do a PlayStation 4 controller, Xbox One, and automatically start using your whole Raspberry Pi via a controller. You don't need a keyboard or a mouse. You could use it later on for any other, how would I say it? Any other things you want to add. But essentially, it gives you full configuration of like the things you need to do for the controller. So there's a couple controllers out there that people made specifically for RetroPies, and this is one of them. They're really cheap. They go for $5 to $10 on Amazon. If you want to just make your experience better, you could get an Xbox controller, PS3 controller, and right now I'm using my PlayStation 4 controller, so it's making things a little bit. I'm kind of used to a PlayStation 4 controller, so like playing Mario Kart with a PlayStation 4 controller, it just brings that weird, unique experience of like, oh shoot, like all I need to do is activate like the motion sensors and everything, so it makes everything better. But that's the basics of what I got down on this, and hopefully you guys have any suggestions for games that I should boot up there. One of the last things I do want to talk about is, a lot of people here are interested in like networking via, playing consoles with each other, right? So one of the things I want to do, and it might be possible, making like a local host here, if like anybody else has a Raspberry Pi and wants to do this. This is long run, maybe not possible, but doing multiplayer with separate devices. So if it's a 4-player game, and let's say you have 2 people on one screen, 2 people on the other screen, you all could like join into a server and essentially load the same game in that same platform area. Yes, exactly. So like someone playing down here, someone playing upstairs, essentially like making a whole local network, of like old games, emulator games. But essentially that's a long run goal, and I mean, if anybody's interested, I'll gladly talk about it. Right now, not the best time, but I mean, we'll keep going from there. Like, what do you mean? Like, what games? I seen here. Whoops. Let's reopen that. I seen here that the newest games that you could play on the console, I believe, might be the Wii. Yeah, the Wii might be the newest one. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so the question is, do all these emulators come pre-installed? The answer to that is a good chunk of them are pre-installed. As you can see here, this is the folder where the ROMs and the emulators are. There's a couple missing from there. There's a good chunk of them that are piled there, but there is a tutorial on a certain way to install it. For example, PlayStation 2 games, it's very weird because PlayStation 1 files or PlayStation files themselves, they contain audio files, gameplay files, and all of different type of files that essentially work all together. and you have to go through a long process of like messing with the configurations to activate the smooth rendering and making how would I say the making the all of the pieces work together to make all the files work in one way. Yes. So this is on. It's running on top of the Raspbian OS. So it's just applied on top of it. But you just need a couple way to flash it into a SD card, and the fastest way to do it is on Etcher. You essentially just load the image, select your SD card, and just boot it up. Oliver. Very soon, once I find a good copy and not a virus.
How many viruses have you gotten trying to install Combat Evolved? Oh my god.
None yet, because I haven't looked for it. But the only reason why I did this, because I saw like, hey, there's a GameCube emulator. Maybe I could try to load Mario Kart, and like I had really fun playing Mario Kart, and the GameCube emulator is just a bit different to put in the system. So I'm trying to find ways to move around it and try to install it, but I'm looking to all the possible ways of trying to get the most games out of here. And the best part, since most games are installed via the USB, depending on what USB you have, you could have up to 32 gigs, and most games go between like 10 megabytes to up to like less than a gigabyte. So that's plenty of games for a while, and this allows you, since it has 4 USB ports, you could connect up to 4 controllers. Depending on the game, you could play up to 4 players. Yes. Yes, yeah, I mean, th- th- there is some emulators. They have this one called Dolphin. It's one of the newest emulators, and Dolphin right now at the moment also runs Nintendo 3DS games. It's poorly rendered, but you just have to mess with the settings a lot. So yeah. That sounds amazing. I need to talk to Kane about that. So apparently Kane has contributed with Dolphin. So yeah, I'm pretty sure one question's going to lead to another question, and that question's not going to go answered. That's going to be hard. Okay. Any other suggestions, or if you guys are looking into buying a Raspberry Pi, I have details on it. The one I got it came with the system installed on it, the OS installed on it, and the case. Once you buy it off the store, it's like $38, just the Raspberry Pi itself. It's not that bad. It's fairly cheap. I mean, I know we're all poor at this school at the moment, but it does come with really cool, like a unique experience. You essentially have a computer in the palm of your hand, and you could bring this anywhere and potentially bring a new chunk of friends to come and play together at once. So I mean, I'm really excited to see what other projects I build out of this, and we could go from. It's a bit complicated to find ROMs, primarily because I'm sticking to just Emu Paradise. Emu Paradise doesn't have much. Oh. All right. Yeah, you see, it's hard to find certain games, primarily because it's not allowed to do this. But you know, as an emulator experience, you you didn't hear that. Uh, yeah, I do. I do. Yeah, I have a lot of these at home. Yeah. So, if there are any further questions, yeah. So interface with Raspberry Pi, USB only. So you have multiple choices. If you do want to install games from a different computer, you could essentially, if you're connected to the same Wi-Fi, this model itself does have a Wi-Fi chip included in it, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and Ethernet. So you could essentially go in any direction of doing it. Wi-Fi, you just have to log in via credentials through your via even terminal and import and export games through that. The easiest way I found was just to do put in the USB drive once I installed when I was installing the RetroPie, and it essentially created the folders for me, so I didn't have to worry. Yeah. So like essentially, it's copying the folders that are being made in the RetroPie into the USB. So it thinks it's the same system, so it's just like duplicating the folders in there. That's the easiest way of going to it. But you could essentially go through many directions. Some people have used, I believe it's Apple Bake to install the software. You just have to do more, you get more customization via that. I just did it the fastest way of using Etcher to install the image and just put it on the SD card. Any further questions? Oliver? I was looking at this. Essentially, I was looking at this possibility of doing that primarily because we wanted to show it. You could do it via SSH and host your the display to a Mac computer via a small host. But I have not done it. I don't know if it will support each device, but I'm so I do believe you could do split screen on but it wouldn't be 16 split screen, but it'll be like like two people per monitor or something like that. Right. 16 pies, I mean, that'd be insane, but yeah, it is possible, but I mean, with the internet that we have, it kind of limits most of the things. But no, it could work. I just have to look at all, So it's essentially not a lot of processing power. Essentially, they tell a Raspberry 3 model, Model 3 is the best, primarily because of all the processing. I haven't even looked at it, but once they speed up the GPU, the processor, it tends to heat a lot, and some people say, if you put it over 1.2 gigahertz, you have a chance of catching something on fire. So they have heat sinks that you could apply on top of it, on certain modules in here to cool it down. Some people have gone insane and like done a water cooling system for their Raspberry Pi. I mean, it sounds awesome, but that's like overkill. Danny? So like powering, They depending on the model, they do have they have mini. I believe it's mini USB, which is like the old like Motorola flip phones that we all used to have, or this one itself is a micro USB. Some of them, I believe, you could use like 5-volt adapters. But this one, since I got it for a killer price, it's micro USB, HDMI, audio output, Ethernet, and 4 USB ports. Thank you. And thanks for the live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it.